This weekend, as health reform chugs slowly into the station, after 60, 70, 100 years of debate, some folks in the country decided that debate is not for them. They decided they'd prefer to make their views known by demonstrations of force and threats of force and intimidation. Bricks were thrown through the windows and glass doors of two Democratic offices in western New York State, including on Friday the district office of Democratic Congresswoman Louise Slaughter in Niagara Falls, and over the weekend the Democratic Party headquarters in Rochester, New York. No one was injured in either attack. The damage to the Congresswoman's office is estimated at a few $100s. A similar incident took place in Arizona at about 2:40 a.m. last night, just a few hours after staff had left for the night after the vote. An alarm went off at the Tucson office of Democratic Congresswoman Gabrielle Gifford. Police found part of the office's front door and the glass panel alongside it smashed in. A spokesperson for the Congresswoman said it was unclear if the glass had been shot out with a pellet gun, perhaps, or if it had been kicked or smashed with an object. No one has claimed responsibility for any of those attacks. Meanwhile, inside the House of Representatives, things got pretty ugly as well.
Those who are shouting out are out of order.
Did you hear that? Baby killer? That did not come from a protester or someone in the gallery. That was someone on the House floor. That was a member of the United States Congress. And for a while today, we did not know who it was. But if Congressman You Lie Joe Wilson taught us anything, it's that you can't shriek like an affronted toddler on the House floor while the cameras are running and not eventually get found out. And so after a period of brave anonymity last night and early today, the slanderer in brief ultimately had to out himself. He is Republican Congressman Randy Nagebauer of Texas. Mr. Nagebauer admitted today that it was he who screamed baby killer during last night's health reform debate. But Randy Nagebauer also says when he screamed baby killer at Congressman Bart Stupak, he didn't actually mean to imply that Bart Stupak is a baby killer. No, why would you get that impression? What he says he meant was that health reform is a baby killer. The congressman apologized for the timing and tone of his comment. Timing and tone were the least of the problems with some of the behavior by anti-health reform protesters outside the U.S. Capitol building this weekend. For example, I don't know what is good timing or what's a more appropriate tone for threatening to stop health reform using guns. This sign from this weekend's protest at the Capitol reads, "Warning, if Brown," meaning Massachusetts Senator Scott Brown, "can't stop it, a Browning can." And in case you don't know that a Browning is a brand of gun, there's a handy photo of or picture of a gun on the sign to make the threat explicit to even the illiterate. When Congressman and civil rights hero John Lewis arrived at the Capitol on Saturday, an anti-health reform protester reportedly shouted a racial epithet at him, one too vile to be repeated on television. Congressman Emanuel Cleaver was also spat on by an anti-health reform protester after being called the same epithet. His office says the congressman elected to not press charges after Capitol Police detained and handcuffed the man who spat at him and took that man to the Capitol Police station. And as you heard me discuss earlier, when Congressman Barney Frank arrived at the Capitol on Saturday, a Politico.com reporter heard anti-health reform protesters shouting a homophobic slur at the congressman. It should be noted that despite the charm offensive from the anti-health reform protesters, who were cheered on by House Republicans this weekend, House Democrats chose on Sunday to march through the protesters on their way into the Capitol building. According to the Hill newspaper, the decision was made at the last minute at the end of a Democratic caucus meeting in a nearby office building. Led by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, the group walked arm in arm right up the Capitol steps, right through them, unintimidated, to go do their jobs.